Look at Greta Thunberg's face. Now, this is in a publication that likes her, and they've chosen to use that photo. I know she's concerned about the world being on fire in 12 years' time, as we be made well aware that there is a clock counting down to our extinction. This is a Negroni. Ask about me. But the fact is, I don't think that's the face of someone who's just concerned about the environment. I mean, did she not go to school? Stay in school, kids. The fact that the cringe is so strong with the whole Greta situation is because you have her addressing parliaments, and you have politicians saying, I spoke to Greta Thunberg today, and she told me, it's like, no offense, as someone who's had learning difficulties themselves, official ones, not just because I'm dumb, the fact that a 16-year-old kid with Asperger's is giving advice to world leaders and, Western parliaments is hilarious. I mean, it is hilarious. This is a South Park's episode. South Park's, yeah, because I say things plurally now. This is a South Park episode come to life. Satire is dead because life is just ridiculous. Donald Trump is president. People think Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is intelligent, and they think Greta Thunberg is going to save planet Earth by having a go and talk to parliaments and stuff. I mean, we're just living in absolute lunacy. Living in, it's clown world. I mean, I accepted it a long time ago. That meme will, be on the front cover of history books in 50 years' time, or history apps, or whatever it is, or maybe it's something directly injected into your eyeball by the time it's 50 years' time. Anyway, so Greta Thunberg to Congress, you're not trying hard enough. Sorry. A petulant thing from a petulant child. I mean, that is the sort of thing that a 16-year-old would say. I worked with, I think they were 16, maybe 17. They were twins. I remember, I don't know how, this is in a customer service office. I don't know how it got onto the subject of Israel and Palestine, but it did. It wasn't really a politically talking office. It was more, bitchiness and tantrums. And, just talking about that issue, and one of the twins just said, well, what's it all about? Why do they hate each other? And I said, well, it's been going on for thousands of years, really, this hatred between, the Arab and the Israelite and the Jew or whatever, and blah, 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 blah. I try to simply explain it. Not as simple as how I explained it just then. And she just said, well, they want to bloody sort themselves out, don't they? Because that's the sort of opinion you get from a 16-year-old. Very simple. But no, because all the adults are dead. All the adults all have given up adulthood and reverted to childhood. Adults these days will queue up for Star Wars films dressed as Princess Leia and cry because it's not what they wanted it to be. That's adults. Now, they've reverted back to childhood. It won't be long before, there'll be court orders for adult, fully grown people to be given the right to go back into the womb. And their mothers will have to agree to have a fully grown person living inside their stomach, like some big freakish thing of sorts. This is what's going to happen. Anyway, the Swedish environmentalist, or as I like to say, child, was one of several who spoke at a Senate Climate Crisis Task Force. That's right. Who do you want for your Senate Crisis Task Force? Well, a 16-year-old child with Asperger's is what you want. I am not insulting the fact that she has Asperger's. I'm insulting the fact that that's who they wanted. At a meeting of the Senate Climate Crisis Task Force on Tuesday, lawmakers praised a group of young activists for their leadership, their gumption, and their display of wisdom far beyond their years. They then asked the teens for advice on how Congress might combat one of the most urgent and politically contentious threats confronting world leaders: climate change. This is as bad as, for example, like the Paul O'Grady show. I don't know if you're familiar with it or not, but, I don't care. They used to have a cringy thing, and it's something they have in a lot of TV shows, where they get kids to do stuff, when they get kids to interview people, kids to review films, little fucking kids. Go, oh, little Johnny, what do you think of that movie? I thought it was great. There was explosions. Yeah. How many stars? 6 out of 5, because I'm a child. I don't fucking understand maths. It's cringy, but, that's for TV. That's for old people to go, We don't need people looking at parliaments and governments and going, it's serious business. But, that's me, I suppose. Greta Thunburg is a 16-year-old Swedish activist who has galvanized young people across... Galvanized? It sounds kind of weird if you don't understand that term. Galvanized people across the world to strike for more action to combat the impact of global warming. Politely reminded them that she was a student, not a scientist or a senator. Well, I'm glad she pointed that fact out, because no one seems to have noticed. Please save your praise. We don't want it. Well, that's very polite, isn't it? Is that what a polite 16-year-old is these days? Talking like that? Don't invite us here to just tell us how inspiring we are without actually doing anything about it, because it doesn't lead to anything. Okay, well, point well made, child. If you want advice for what we should... Sorry if this clinking ice is annoying you, but, I've been watching Mad Men again. I just feel like Don Draper, especially with all the sex I've been having on my own. If you want advice for what you should do, Look, I'm away from the missus. It's just solo sex. Invite scientists. Ask scientists for their expertise. We don't want to be heard. We want the science to be heard. Well, why are you there, child? That's what I've been saying all along. But that's not what... So just shut up then, Well, why don't you bring a scientist with you? Surely you know some scientists by now. You're like the most famous activist for environmental causes on planet Earth. Where's your science friends? Why didn't you demand to bring them along instead of just standing there going, of course, because you're a child and you have Asperger's. It's not up to you. All right, the handler. Why isn't the handler or the manager? She's clearly got a manager. The book's going to be out in a year, isn't it? It'll be a #1 bestseller. Inspiring. They'll make some really cack film about her one day. Or hopefully she has a breakdown in 10 years. That'll make an even better film. This might be the beginning of a really horrific life story, which usually is with famous children. Look at Michael Jackson. He is one of many. Maybe the most sordid and crazy one, but one of many. I know you are trying, but just not hard enough. Sorry, says the child who has no life experience or job. The audience laughed. Ha ha ha, because that's what you should do when a petulant child runs their mouth. Supporters broke into applause. Senator Ed Markey, the Massachusetts Democrat who co-sponsored the Green New Deal, or as we say, the essay of lunacy, and leads the Senate task force, was perhaps surprised by her bluntness, but she smiled. They do smile, but you don't really know why they're smiling. Seated at the table with the teens were some of the most sympathetic and vocal supporters of bold action on climate change in Congress, but facing a Republican-controlled Senate and a hostile White House, the prospect of enacting reforms at the scale and scope called for by activists, and many scientists, is bleak. And let's not forget, there's also China and other Asian countries who are on the up and up, who don't give a fuck. No one's been talking to them. Do you think Xiao Ping is going to let a Swedish teenager with Asperger's gob him off on his own doorstep? Probably not. We need your leadership, he told Thunberg. Yes, we need you, child, to lead us. That's what we need. It's like we resorted to the old days, when the king or the emperor died, and then the next in line, because it was a bloodline and it was retarded, and it was like, oh, well, now my 2-year-old son is king, and he wants free blow-up toys for every child. He also wants us to stop the production of rice and just start growing colourful flowers, because he's a child. We need to give positions of power to children, because that's how it worked out. Well, we're past all that, but now apparently reverted to it, going, you, child, you are the chosen one. Isn't this like something, a children's writer will go, Greta Thunberg, you are the chosen one. You will lead us out of darkness. Here's your mighty green sword to fight the dragon from the hole in the ozone layer. Young people are the army politically, which has arrived in the United States. You put a spotlight on this issue in a way that it has never been before, and that is creating a new X factor, says a cringy old person. Still, Markey vowed to try. We hear you. We hear what you're saying, and we will redouble our efforts. Well, apparently your efforts aren't good enough. You've got to ten up your efforts or some shit like that. Listen to the child. She knows. Thunberg was one of several youth activists, and there they are. There's even smaller ones than her there, all gobbing into a microphone before they go off and cry into their pillows because they feel awkward in their own skin because they're teenagers. During 2 days of action and speeches aimed at urging lawmakers to support transformative climate action. Look, come on. If you got children addressing Parliament and stuff, and children addressing Congress, right? I don't think they're taking it too seriously. It's just, here's a child, talk to them, there's a spotlight on them. You don't need to get anything done, because they'll be interested in something else in 2 years. There's that kind of, kids are fickle like that. Ice bucket challenge didn't last that long, did it? See anyone chucking ice? See anyone caring about whatever disease it was they were trying to sort out? No, I can't remember what disease it was for. Fucking I don't know, frozen man syndrome. Anyway, she was joined by activists from across the US and South America, part of a multiracial, intergenerational effort to combat climate change. Yes, there's even someone with Native American headcarb on there. Every box has been ticked. And you've got to tick every box in today's modern climate. Why? Well, because that's the only substance that's left. Oh no, there is no substance. That's replaced substance. The meetings and speeches in Washington are intended to raise awareness ahead of a global climate strike on Friday, in which students and workers will walk out of schools and offices to pressure their governments to act as world leaders gather in New York for the annual United Nations Summit. The generation of the Green New Deal. Oh my God, that makes me feel so sorry for everyone alive on planet Earth. Will not only survive, but we will thrive, said Nadia Nazar, co-founder of the advocacy group 0 Hour, at a news conference earlier on Tuesday. I bet they're a bunch of anti-Semites or something. I'm just making assumptions here. It just sounds like something that would be. I don't know. Should I put that out there? I've put it out there. I'm not going to edit this. We will no longer be known as the kids fighting the apocalypse. You see, now there's your book title. This is the cartoon that you should have. And someone's working on it already. We will be known as the solution to the climate crisis. Climate crisis. Look at me, all fucked up. The climate crisis. In the US, support for sweeping action on climate change has polarized many Republicans, among them Donald Trump. Oh yeah, he is one, isn't he? Are still openly skeptical of the science behind global warming. Republican leaders have mocked Democrats for introducing a Green New Deal. Well, it is fucking lunacy, for goodness sake. It's just socialist propaganda. And have used the proposal as a cudgel against lawmakers and presidential candidates. The Green New Deal is an ambitious 14-page resolution. It's only 14 pages. That's not enough. Calls for 10-year national mobilisation that would eliminate the nation's emissions in 1 decade. Scientists say limiting warming to 1.5 degrees C would require cutting man-made carbon levels by 45% by 2030 and reaching net zero around 2050. Markey said the movement is shifting the political landscape. The senator pointed to the 2020 presidential debates as evidence of what has changed. Candidates are being asked about climate change and pushed to introduce plans to combat global warming. This is in stark contrast to 2016. I know, because in 2016 we didn't know we had so little time for the Earth left. It's funny enough, since Donald Trump came into power, suddenly the Earth is doomed. Isn't that interesting, how suddenly now planet Earth is going to die way quicker than we were told? But lest us forget, you see, I do believe in climate change, but the thing is, I also remember the 80s, and we were told that by the year 2000, London would be submerged in water, and it would be like Venice, but crap. Well, crapper, because Venice isn't great. I've been there, I can comment. You know, it'd be like Waterworld with fucking jelly deals and pie and mash. It hasn't happened yet, and it's almost 20 years since then. That's right. But that's what they told us. And the ozone layer. I haven't heard someone talk about the ozone layer since the early 90s. Is it fixed? Is it still there? Was there a hole? What's going on with the ozone layer? I've heard nothing about it. Anyway, what has happened? You have happened, he told the activist. What has happened? You have happened. Yes, children. Well, look. So we're all campaigning for climate change and doing recycling and shit. Excuse me. You're giving the extra level of energy to the political process that absolutely changed the dynamic of politics in the United States. No, what has happened is that people are shamelessly exploiting children for political gain now. I mean, the rules have all gone out the window. It's all conspiracy theories and fear-mongering and the exploitation of children. You know, they have no standards or values. They don't care. The 2020 election, Markey said, will in many ways be a referendum on climate change. I say just make Greta Thunberg president of the world. I mean, why not? You know, just for a laugh. Anyway, Thunberg arrived in the US after crossing the Atlantic in a solar-powered yacht. Apparently, the carbon emissions to build that yacht exceed carbon emissions for actually flying there. So I've heard. She rose to international prominence after launching Fridays for Future, student-led strikes that have spread to 135 countries. She has been nominated for a Nobel Peace Prize. If she wins the Nobel Peace Prize, it will be the worst. It will be the worst injustice since Caitlyn Jenner became Woman of the Year, and she was only qualified for 6 months. On Monday, she met Barack Obama. The former president shared a photo from their meeting in which he praised Thunberg as one of our planet's greatest advocates and someone who is unafraid to push for real action. Yes. Shallow, meaningless rhetoric from the former president, as per usual. Later on Tuesday, the group was scheduled to meet Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer and Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, the People's Clown, who is a co-sponsor of the Green New Deal in the House. On Wednesday, Thunberg will deliver what has been billed as a major address to members of Congress. Well, forget fucking Martin Luther King. Okay. Forget the Rivers of Blood speech. Okay, this is the one that's going to go down in history. Everyone's going to be quoting this one. The words of an entitled 16-year-old girl with Asperger's. This is the world you live in, and you haven't chosen to exit it on your own accord.